I think whether it's your business or your personal life, core values set the direction for who you are and where you want to go. And they can really help decipher decision making along the process. If you have a decision where, let's say you have a whole bunch of you have 20 emails to get through, but it's getting late and you should be home, with your kids and your wife. It's like, what do you do? And I think on the big picture, broad scope, people are like, core values. Yes, let's like get them. Maybe we'll make a poster, a t-shirt. We'll put them on some coffee mugs, and then we'll be freed up, and that's who we are. We're humble and hungry. We are, positive and caring. We are driven and whatever it is. Unless you this is the revelation I had in 2016. That was where I was. I had read enough to know the power of core values, yet to me it was still the posters. It was still just the motivational thing behind. I had yet to take it in sort of some sort of daily actionable item that truly directed where I was. I read Stephen Covey's First Things First. I read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly People, and I've read a lot about business management and core values from everybody. You don't get through a business, anything, without establishing what the core values are of the business. And I had done that. I'd done exactly what they were talking about. And I made lists and I had definitions for each one. And I did that for a while, for 4 or 5 years. And I even had goals for each one of those. I had an actual goal that I wanted for each one of those things. So to me, I was as dialed as you get. I have my core values. I've defined exactly what those are, and I have goals for each one of those to accomplish this year. It doesn't get better than that, right? Except it does, because there was no process behind it. Mm-hmm. It was what we talk about all the time on the competitive side of things. It was essentially what I said was, I'm a competitor. I compete in the sport of CrossFit. My goal as a competitor in the sport of CrossFit is to win the CrossFit Games. Now, because I've stated that and I've told you about it, it should happen, right? Mm-hmm. And we know as well as anybody that that's just not the case. If 10 people have done that, it's impossible for all 10 to do it. So the revelation I had was how to turn that into some actionable daily items in this past year.
So let's maybe back up a little bit before we get into sort of like what that means. Is when we say core values, or when you say core values, what does that really mean? Are you saying what are the most important things to you? Like, how do you start to begin? If like core values is just sort of this nebulous idea, and you want to take sort of an actionable step, like what is the first step in defining your or a person's core values?
At your core, who are you and who do you want to be? What is truly important to you? If you are going to do first things first, if you're going to, the main thing is keeping the main thing the main thing. That's the idea, is like, what is the main things in your life? If you're going to construct a house, and I get it, you want the right knobs on every cabinet. You want to have a sub-zero fridge with these many shelves. You want, this sort of border with the pavement around the garden. I get that. That's all the little fringes and the details. What is the framework? What is the blueprint of your life? And for me, it's things like family. Family is my first and number one thing. It's family, it's excellence. There's a leadership component, there's a health and wellness component, and there's a fun and enjoy the ride process. And those are my core values. That's what I look forward to have in my life. And what I'm basically saying is, if those things are in place on a yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily, actionable standpoint, then I know I'm tracking towards where I want to be. I think we all have this idea of where we want to end up in life, and we kind of put it at this distant horizon, and there's this major gap. There's no roadmap whatsoever between where we are and where we want to get. We have this pie in the sky, like, if my life was exactly the way I envisioned it, it would include these things, this would encompass. But we're no step closer to that today than we were yesterday. And we're going to be no step closer to that tomorrow, unless we put some definitions to what those things are and start to define on what the roadmap looks like to get there.
So when you establish your core values, are you thinking Aspirationally, in other words, are you thinking like, it's a bad example, but leadership for you? Obviously, that's something that is a big part of your life anyways. But if I'm just at home and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I would like leadership to be a part of my life, but it's not now. Is that a good core value, or is there something before that that you should focus on before you get, should it be more practical or more sort of aspirational, I guess?
It has to be where you are now. This is not aspirational things. This is not like, I want to be a really positive person, but I complain and I swear and I make excuses for everything today. I don't care what you want to be. Their core values. They're things that right now, what are integral to you. If they're integral to you right now, then they're not, because you're not doing it, right? That'd be like saying like somebody that's 350 pounds smoking cigarettes and having, a dozen donuts for breakfast saying health and wellness is a core value for me. Well,
even if it might be in some like,
even if it might be, you
like
want to be,
it's
not. It's not a core value. It's not who you are.
Because your actions don't track towards that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, there's obviously some sort of aspirational aspect to this, right? I want to be a better leader. I want to have more fun, enjoyment in my life. But the reason I want those things is because to me right now, today, they're incredibly important. I'm not saying like if you're the 350-pound guy smoking cigarettes and having a dozen donuts for breakfast, I'm not saying that tomorrow that can't be your core values after you kind of like really try to, but these are not flimsy things that are shifting in this breeze. And today my core values are this, and tomorrow my core values are this. These are things at your heart and soul and your soul being. Who are you as a person? They're not who I want to be, and they're not that much different than I was yesterday. We might have little shifts and sways a little bit, but directionally, we know where we're going. If where I am today is Boston, and where I want to get to is San Francisco, every day I'm going west on Route 90, right? And that's going to get me there. Now, if I take little detours and little side routes because I like these kind of like, I like what I see over there and I want to check that out, and ooh, that's really nice. And if I don't end up in San Francisco, but I end up in Sacramento, or I end up in Seattle, that's okay. Things can change along the way, but there's no reason for me to today. I should not be like, hey, I'm going to San Francisco, and today I'm hopping on a plane to France. Like that's not in line with what we're trying to pursue.
So in some ways, finding your core values, finding it isn't the right word. It's more understanding yourself enough to know what are the things that are already existing in your life that even if it's just intellectually saying, these are the most important things to me.
Yeah. And it's not a hard thing. Yeah. It's a hard thing to come up with the right words. And there's Google pages people can go onto that give you 500 examples of these things. Literally Google examples of core values, and the first one that pops up, because I've done it, the first one that pops up has examples of 500 core values. It's not hard when you have that list in front of you to think like this one and this one, this one and this one. The hard part is finding the right words. So if you have those words in front of you, it's a lot easier. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be exact. The process is more important than the actual getting it right piece. We want to be, the idea is go to the gym, right? If your goal is to get fit, the idea is get to the gym. Once you're at the gym, whether you jump on a treadmill or go on the squat rack, it doesn't matter that much. You're doing way more than you were yesterday, which is just sitting at home watching TV. How
many core values? I think you have 4 or 5. Is that have you found that that's the right number? Should people have less?
I have 5, and I wish I had 3. I want less is more.
Okay.
And like anything, right? Whether it's business, you're going to get more out of less. At one point in my life, I had 9 when I first heard about them, because and like let's do everything. And I've whittled down to as low as 3. Again, they're always changing. But I've settled on 5, and that's hard. I want a 6 right now. But I'm smushing. What you also find is some things live together. Right. So if you have integrity and honesty, that could probably be in 1. If you have empathy and compassion and service, that could probably be 1. So they could be broad, overreaching themes, and it's all in how you define them.